Hi, and welcome back to Foreground Podcast. My name is Moaga, and I'm joined by Peter Lee, and we are excited. This week, we got an amazing guest, but before we get to, thank you so much for joining us the last episode. We've got lots of feedback. Some of the feedback has been positive. Some of it's been like, constructive.
Very constructive. We just want to improve, want to get better.
Yeah. We want to be able to reach as many people as possible. We got people listening from their who are about 18, 19 years old, to people all the way through to baby boomer age. My father-in-law, baby boomer, he listened to it for an hour. He listened to the whole thing, and he gave me some notes. So for me, it's not just about being a polished product, Peter. Is that right? We're not polished. All about progress.
Yeah, again, we're real.
We're real.
Real people, real culture, real corporate, real community, and that real connection.
Yeah.
And so
I love that.
And again, it's raw.
Yeah.
As much as we're going to be talking about all things educational, giving framework, strategies, I guess, so to speak, especially with all the guests that we bring on. But yeah, it's for me, I was like, I'm nervous because you're putting yourself out there, you're being vulnerable, and I think that's the hardest part. But I guess vulnerability is the true, component of leadership, and I love that.
Say it again with your chest.
99 hashtag.
I knew he was gonna.
But vulnerability is the true component of leadership.
Yep.
And the sister Christina Coleman really leans on that. So again, some really cool stuff coming up. Some really cool segments. Even watch this space, I guess.
Watch this space. Speaking about space, we're grateful to be in this space. Shout out to Lumbr Café here on Spine Street in Sumner, who've been providing the goods for us. Do it again.
It's been pretty cool.
There you go. Amazing food, amazing coffee. My wife actually came this morning. She just wanted to check out the space, and she took one sip of the coffee. I'm not even bragging. I'm actually facts. She was like, this is good. So if you're ever in Brisbane, in this area, please come on down to Lumbr Cafe. Another shout out to who else?
Alani Networks Media. They're my homies. They're doing amazing. Like without this, they make us both, even though we like to think we look amazing, make us even like double that legendary status you keep talking about. I think that's what this makes it.
Yes, sir. Speaking about legendary status, we have a legendary guest today.
Oh, sure.
He's a humble dude. I know he's a humble dude. He's sitting across from us and he's just like, stitch up. But I'm going to handball it to Pete because this guest is, you have a very special connection, one of the 4 C's we have.
Yo.
And again, if you don't know, if you're just joining us for the first time, we, Foreground Podcast, we love to explore the areas of leadership, but also exploring people's stories. But we anchor it in the 4 C's of our discussion, which is around corporate, community, connection, and
culture.
There you
Say
go.
with your chest.
Say it with your chest. So I'm going to handball it to you to introduce our next guest because I'm curious, I'm excited, but you're nervous.
I am.
You told me earlier this morning that you were nervous.
I am because I want to make this guy look good. So, this guest or our guest for today, someone very special. We've known each other since we're 18, even younger, and I've seen him come through the ranks. He's an old boy from Churchy. If you like Churchy, you gotta love them. One of the top GPS schools. He played for Sunnybank Rugby, the Dragons, up the bank. One of the closest, one of the most closest communities. When we talk about connection and community, he's part of this community, and he keeps showing up for the community and for his people. He played, went over to played under 20s for Australia. I don't even need Wikipedia. I had this Wikipedia thing. I actually know him. I know my man. But from there, under 20s, he had a choice, where to go, and he went to Force, played for Force for a few years, went over to Japan, then came back actually and played for Moana Pacifica. So now we'll dive deep into that. Yes. Playing for Moana, and he actually captained Moana for a few games. But from there, I think the biggest one is for me being a massive student of the game, but also a massive fan of rugby. He actually represented Manu Samoa, and I think that's I get goosebumps actually. That's something real special, and I think that's something on his resume, and you can't take that away. He represented Manu Samoa at the World Cup. I think you're the highest score for Sa in that World Cup as well. He's very humble. But you got my man here, Harry Taefu. Awesome to have you here, man. Yeah, man. And he's currently now in Japan. So watch it, man.
That intro, man. I feel just being here. Like I feel like, man, this space is awesome, man. I feel like I'm in Channel 9, Fox Sports News, and I'm on the hot chair, you know.
Yeah.
But thanks for having me. Really honored to be here. Really like what you guys are doing. In this podcast space, I think you guys are ahead of the game. Definitely honored to be here.
Yeah. One of the things that as I was listening to you share, I've known Peter for quite a bit, and often we'll present it together, and I'm a very big observer on body language and whatnot. And as you were just talking, I just saw this biggest smile, this biggest joy that come to your face because you're proud. So my question is, when you hear your friend talk to you about the things that you've achieved, like career-wise, how does it make you feel to know, that's you? Are you proud of what you've achieved?
Yeah, I guess we need to put it that way. I'm proud, but also I think just, me and Peter grew up and, we were battlers back in the day, he used to pick me up for training, going to Sunnybank sometimes, or, we'll meet up, and this was before, I think I was 18 or 19, okay. Through the struggles, and then, he went on to play sevens, and I guess I went on to my path, but I think it's just cool to reconnect there, because these friendships that you make, they might seem small, but then as you get older, man, it's awesome to reconnect, because when you put it that way,
those struggles, man. I tell you, some of those cool car rides, those $2 feeds. Remember when hot chips used to cost like $5?
Yes,
They used to get heaps. A throwback, that was hot chips, sandwiches. I hope a nutritionist. Hope your nutritionist is listening.
Where was your local fish and chips shop that you boys would visit frequently? Because you were saying you're up at Churchy, but when you were down south, where was the place that you boys will pull up?
Marsden. Shout out to Third Ave.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
Was it the chicken salt? Was it the size of the chip? What was it?
Chicken salt. Yeah, the yellow one. The yellow. I just saw it at one of our other places. I don't want to, this gatekeep. This is what I'll gatekeep, because I was like, it's been taking me ages. But those. Yeah, I didn't really man, we go way back.
Yeah.
And you kind of.
Well, some of those car rides would have been interesting, right? In those car rides, would you talk about some of the stuff, like your dreams and the things that we've just shared before, like Korea, playing here and there? What were those car rides like for you, young boys going, hey, we want to do this? I would have loved to have been in that car.
Yeah, those are some cool car rides, eh? I think, certainly that. A lot of it was Peter singing his Chris Brown songs. But I think just as young boys, man, we knew we had a dream, and I think we definitely spoke about I want to do this, I want to do that, and rugby was always the dream for us. So definitely some good times back then.
Yeah. What was it like to see each other eventually start making inroads to your careers? Like you said, as Peter was sevens, you ended up doing 15 or league. What was it about that group of boys that really? Because I'm big on environments. Yeah. Your environment will really determine your basically your outlet or your path moving forward. What was the importance of having the right group of people, such as him, but others as well?
Yeah, I think there was Peter, but at Sunnybank at the time,
Give some shout outs.
Yeah, shout out to we had half the Queensland Reds in our squad too, but then there was a group of young boys, and man, we were all hungry. So a lot of boys, if you didn't make the Reds, we were still hustling at Sunnybank. So there was Peter went on to sevens. I think a few sevens boys, and then obviously myself, we were the up and coming sevens. So I think our backline, man, we were pretty stacked there. We had.
Give me some names, because again, I'm interested.
Ben Lucas.
So the Lucas boys, Mally Lucas, and then we had Ben Tapuai, Dick Beyond there. Those we were all pretty much a super rugby.
Richard Kingy,
pretty much a super rugby backline, and we had
we had heaps. We had Shalom Sunila, bro. We had internationals in our backline. They would come over, purely come play for Sunnybank. Bro, you had even look at the forward pack.
Yeah.
Bro, Jake Schatz, Greg Holmes, Rodney Blake,
Liam Gill.
Gilly, Shatsy.
Yeah, Shetty.
Insane.
Albert Anai.
Oh, yeah,
Greg
Albert,
Holmes.
Bro, good. Oh, yeah, Rob Simmons. Bro,
Rob Simmons. Wally. Yeah, those.
Big Wall.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Wally Harvey. We were pretty. We had guys that were struggling to make our premier team, and then they are to make like professional careers. Like guys like Pete Summerall who struggled to.
Pete Summerall,
yeah, even Teddy Teller was there. Like we had man. Sunnybank was the place to be back then.
Man.
And it was. Hey, we're building back strong, man.
Pretty, yeah.
So that's gonna be fun, man. But yeah, we had again, and you look at all the players now, what they're doing, like that generation, and I think it's something that coming back into coaching, and I even you coming back down to Sunnybank, just recently, while you're on which we'll go into when he's on tour, but the fact that the guys that everyone that I know in that our gen. Like we hustled.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a life skill or something that's not being picked up from young people now or kids coming through our grassroots, but we hustled, and that's the word that.
Yeah.
But we hustled, and then we turned those hustling. They're all transferable skills.
Yeah.
Like I've now, I'm in business, but I know Benny Lucas, he's doing business. Adam Wallace Harrison, I think he's in, doing real estate down like Casuarina, Holmesy. He's over in like, I'm pretty sure he's down west, or I know he's coaching.
Yeah, coaching.
Ben Lucas doing stuff with TH7,
Yeah.
with the BDM, like BD role, business development. Ben Taps, yourself is still playing, like that's crazy. But even Rex Taps, we didn't even mention Rex, but he was our leader, our fearless leader.
Yeah.
And he runs a very successful, fitness, personal training company as well, organization in the city, in Brisbane City. Shout out to Taps Fitness. And he, you look at all those things. Do you think there's like something there, with that, like just that work? I don't know.
Yeah,
hustling?
I think it's that environment, that Ray touched on. Like, I think if you hang around the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. So I think if we give them, enough successful, show me your 5, closest friends, and then I'll show you your future, that sort of thing. Yeah. So like, because we had a lot of successful, hardworking people around us, it made us want to be better. Obviously, even our coaches, Rod Sybee now is, he's the Brumbies coach. So I think
he's gone over to Scotland now.
I think he's gone to Scotland or Ireland. Still a professional coach, but it's you 100%. Your environment dictates what your future. So if you're a struggling player, or just in life in general, if you show me your closest friends, I could show you what your future looks like.
What do you say to take yourselves back to your 17, 18-year-old self? You're in those car rides, you're doing the Marsden 3rd Ave chip ride, and you're talking about, footy and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, what are you saying to each other, or even saying to yourself, going, man, there's so many, like this back line, for example, there's so many guns, there's so many future Hall of Famers here, and you're just sitting there going, am I going to make it with all this talent? Like, how do you push through that? Because I think that's the point of difference that you both have. And even, like, I'm interested to hear from your standpoint. Like, what do you do as you're sitting there waiting on the bench for your turn? Like, and you feel like does it ever come? These guys are awesome. Like, what do you do? And like, what are you saying to yourself?
Yeah, look, like, I guess as a 18, 19-year-old, like, my path was through rugby league. So I played rugby league, and then I came to Sunnybank as a 18, 19-year-old, and I gave myself as my last crack. So, like my whole journey, for me, I feel like, there's been highs and then there's lows. So I don't know if it's a trauma response or just the way that I am, but I can never get too caught up in a moment, because I know, man, what's going to come next. So I think coming through as an 18 and 19-year-old, I was like, I gave myself, I think 2 years, and I was like, I'm gonna really give it everything, make the sacrifice, give it everything, and at least if I don't succeed, then I know I've given it everything, right? So playing, I was lucky enough because I got to start most games as a 19-year-old, but then when these guys came back, so obviously playing for the Reds, and then they come back finals time, then I'll go from Premier grade to Colts. All right, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna prove myself in Colts, so that they have to pick me, and then obviously, you're never gonna turn those wallabies down. But for me, that was my mindset. Like I'm just gonna do every little thing. I think I'm not the flashiest player, but if I did everything that I could and make it like the coaches have to pick you, and that's what was my mindset, right?
I like that.
I was like, I'm gonna do every little thing and then show up, so that the coaches have to pick you, and that's been my mindset ever since. Like I've never been the first pick in my teams. I've never been the most talent, but I think one thing that I've learned growing up is hard work gets you a long way, and if you do everything, if you sacrifice and just make yourself. Your coaches have no choice but to pick you. That's just been my mindset. Yeah.
Is that quote? What is it? Hard work. No. Talent gets you there, but hard work keeps you there.
Yeah.
What's it like having to earn everything?
That's. I think it's the same as life. I feel, but like in a sporting sense, it's nothing's given to you. Same as any jerseys that I've walked in. Like just walk into a Manu Samoa jersey or Moana jersey. You have to earn it, all right? And it's what you do, each day in, day out. So I think when I was younger, that set me up to life, as I get older, because I went down to Parramatta and then I got dropped, and then I was like, where do I go from here? And then obviously it's just those setbacks that I had. So. Under 20s, I made Australian 20s, and then I got injured. I was like, man, there's highs and lows, right? Right, you get your high and then your lows.
I remember the series of events with injuries, and then you actually found the cause of your injuries.
Yeah.
I think when we talk about the lows, I don't think you realize.
Yeah.
And obviously, I know you personally.
Yeah.
And also professionally.
Yeah.
Like, and I'll let you share, but there was a very low point where that would have been scary. I think for anyone coming through. I'd love to hear like what strategies, how you actually bounce back from it. But because he kept hurting his shoulder, or these just and you actually didn't know the cause, and then I remember having a conversation with your girlfriend, fiance, but wife now, Sarah, about it. This man, like when he talks lows, he actually hit like. I would have struggled.
Yeah.
How did you get over that, man? Which I'll share. I'll let you share.
Yeah. So so I got So obviously after that 20s, I hurt my shoulder. I came back and I got a shoulder recon, and then after that shoulder recon, man, I nearly passed. Died on the operating table, and they found that I had a rare tumor. So and this tumor was in my adrenal gland, and it was like about the size of an orange, and this was pumped. Like so. That was the reason why I got let go from Parramatta, because I could never finish a conditioning session. My blood pressure would go, like 200, and then the real extreme sessions I would just faint because my blood pressure was too high. So, that was probably the lowest point for me, but it was also, I think that was the revelation. So because I was like, man, like it makes sense, like you go through life and you can't get get fit, you can't do things that you think you can, and then that was the point where it kind of changed for me. I was like, man, this is why. So now from then, I think I just turned 20. I was like, I'm gonna go back, and then I'm gonna give this rugby thing a real hot go, and then if it happens, it happens. If not, I've given it everything. So like I said, life for me has been highs and lows. So that was a low, but I definitely have throughout my career, and it's something I teach my kids now. Every night we do highs and lows, and it's what's your highest point of the day, and then what's your lowest point of the day. So every day they tell me what their highs and lows are, and then obviously it's just the same correlation to life, right? You go through your highs and then you go through your lows, and if they've had a few lows in a row, I always tell them, man, the high is gonna come. You go through highs and lows, and I think that was that for me, that was a low point, but I've also had a lot of highs along the way too.
Yeah, it's holding that tension, eh?
Yeah,
like it's bringing it. I think for me, it's bringing it back to reality of how life operates for me anyway, and I'm sure it's the same for you boys. Like we can be caught up, like you meet people in spaces who say don't focus on the lows because it's only drag you down. I can understand that concept.
Yeah.
but at the same time, you need to be aware and recognize it's there and it's part of your journey. Not okay, I'll push it in the dark corners of my brain and in my heart, so I never have to address it again. But I think there's something unique about that of going, you know what, this is my story. I've gone through some traumatic experiences, but it also I wouldn't even say counterbalances. It holds intention as well when you're saying there are some amazing things that have happened in my life. Like, how have you gone about, like, and you know, you talked about transferable. How do you go about, even in your current situation now, like you know, off air, you were talking about the tour that you have, but you got family here, you're traveling here, then you're off training, you're all over the place. So how do you hold that tension in what you're doing now, and the highs and the lows of your life currently?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's all about, you know, perspective, right? So, you know, when you
that word for you, perspective.
Perspective, right? And that like going through those tough times, you know, I kind of wear it as like a badge of honor, you know, like about to get I won't get too deep, but just that's like the way I see it is like, you know, your struggles, you know, it's kind of like the stages of life, right? You have to get through, you know, these struggles help you get to where you got to go, right? And without these struggles, you're probably not, you know, it's like a video game, right? So, you know, to get from level 1 to level 2, you got to get through these obstacles, right? If you don't overcome those obstacles, then you're probably just going to stay on that level 1, you know, and stay in that sort of easy mode. But, you know, the people that get to the final stages, or, you know, the highest levels of that game, you have to go through all the, you know, all the struggles that God's put you, you know, put there for you. All right. And I think that's the same for me. So, you know, struggles, you know, it's the same as a game. Like, you got to go through tough times in a game. And for me, I really enjoy the tough times in a game, because, you know, you put my mouth guard in and I bite down, and, you know, you just gotta push through. You gotta find a way. All right. And I think the struggles, if it's taught me anything, it's to, you know, don't get caught up in you know, because this is like the highs and lows. You know, like I said, you know, you might be going through a low, but you know, eventually it's gonna be a high at some point. You know, it's gonna end. You know, whatever struggles you're going through, or whatever hardship you're going through in your life, man, it's gonna end, because that's life. You know, life is full of ups and downs, highs and lows, and you just gotta bite down on your mouth guard. All right, and then if it's a wall in front of you, you just gotta run through it. You know, and that's just been my philosophy.
You know what? So bite down in your mouth guard.
Yeah.
Look at that wall, run through it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
And I think I can actually, I've seen it so many times within your career.
Yeah.
You know, I always ask, when you don't get named in the Moana team, I was like, he'll be there next week.
Yeah.
You know, or I know if you're injured, like, you know, I'm like, man. You know, I've been following your journey from, like, I guess the behind the scenes and that, and it's actually cool to hear. Great to hear that, you know, that high and low. Like, is that something you've developed yourself, or something you've learned?
Yeah, I think it's
that
just
concept.
Yeah, I think it's just something I've learned, and I think it's a corporate thing as well. A lot of companies are doing that now, you know, where they go through their team meetings. But I think it's, for me, is something that I ever since my youngest, you know, she's about to turn 9, and it's something that we use from as soon as she can talk. So, yeah, I like to do these things with my kids, because I feel like, you know, I can instill them, you know, values to help them get through it, because, you know, the life they live is quite unpredictable. You know, we're moving a lot every 3 years, so yeah,
gotta give it up and give it. Yeah.
Give us an example, because again, off air we had this conversation, but for people who are listening and watching on, like, where do you currently live, and tell us a bit of that journey where you as a family have moved from place to place.
So my daughter, the oldest, she's about to turn 9. So we're currently living in Japan. All right, so Japan, and then from there, we lived in Auckland for 3 years, and then before that we lived in Perth for 3 years, and then before that we're in France for a year, and then we're in Brisbane. So this is her fourth move in 8 years it was. So for her, life is quite, you know, I think unpredictable. You know, like she's living an amazing life, but it's also hard, because being away from home has its own challenges, right? And I think one thing that I try to instill in them is you know, I guess of it, a lot of these values, a lot of these things that I've learned along the way, but also help them with their identity. You know, the big thing about them being away from home, is they kind of, are they Samoan? Are their mum's Australian? Are they Australian? Or my daughter, she really loved New Zealand. So she thought she was Kiwi for a little while. And now my son, who's about to turn 7, the other day at the playground, he was like, oh, I'm Japanese. So I guess, like culture and identity is something that I'm trying to teach, to them as well, because being away from home, it has its own challenges.
Yeah.
And I guess for them is who they are and where they come from.
How do you find stability and chaos with your family? How does one, like, how do you do that? Like, I'm amazed.
Yeah.
Because our kids, like we'll all speak as well fathers, right?
Yeah.
Our kids have so much resilience and understanding, but in a home such as yours, like you're talking about, I'm not talking about moving within Brisbane from suburb to suburb. You're talking about moving countries.
Yeah.
So how do you provide? I don't know if it's provide is the right way, is the right way to frame it, but what is how do you get to stability in the midst of chaos? What's your go-to?
And obviously them being in Japan, they go to Japanese school, so they're sitting there 8 hours a day, listening to Japanese teachers talk and having no idea. So there's been days where they'll come home and they've obviously struggled, but I think that, like, in the midst of chaos, we talk about it in rugby as well, you got to find your calm. And I think like I try and teach them, like, for them, home is wherever we are as a family. So that's, like, for me, I try to be that calm for them. So, like, moving away is like, I try and, like, kids, where are you from? I'm Samoan and I'm Australian. So, and like being in Japan, gets me a little bit emotional, because obviously there are some tough times, but as a family unit, I think being away kind of forces you only have each other to rely on. So in the midst of chaos, you got to find your calm. And I think the calm for them is just, like, they're living a pretty good life, but I think I just try and provide that calm, as a dad. Like, they wake up and they see, mum and dad, and then they come home and they see mum and dad. So finding that calm for them, because obviously their life is quite chaotic. But it's obviously a bit like rugby is quite a, I guess, selfish profession, because you go where your contract is, and your family come for the ride. So you just got to provide, just be an anchor for your kids and your family. And I think, and for me, I've tried just to be that, just to anchor, and then whatever storms coming around us, we stick tight.
You talk about that calm. Is it I guess moving from, because I'm watching, like, on social, as soon as I see that you got a new contract, I'm like this, and then I see Sarah's stories come up, and she's like moving a kid, but she doesn't seem like she's complaining. Like, she just go, it goes with it. But that's a real backbone of who you are. That you need that, right? I've got that with Emma, and what's Sarah like? How does if you don't know, Sarah's Henry's very beautiful wife, very lovely as well. She's awesome. But what's it like? What's the conversations and that? How do you get that calm with her as well? Because I want to know, because I'm going through it at the moment. I run 4 businesses. It's tough. What's your go-to?
So obviously, me and my wife, we're kind of like the polar opposites, where I'm sort of calm and quiet, and she's quite a outgoing, very extroverted. So I think the moves for us as a family, she's probably struggled the most, because she doesn't have that support system, and then she'll make friends in one place and then have to uproot and leave that friendship behind, and then go start a new friendship group. And I think girls, I think they struggle the most, because I get to go to training and I get to be around the boys, and I get to work out, where in Japan she doesn't work, so she looks after the kids, and then she doesn't have that support system, and I think that, like we talk about that connection, you lose that connection. So for her, she's struggled the most. But then I think for me, I get strength from seeing how she kind of overcomes that. Like, obviously it's a lonely life being a partner of a rugby player in a different country, don't know the language, don't know Don't know there anyone there. But I think, for us, it was just, I come home and then I have to just be present, like being a father and then also being a husband as well. Like whatever happened your day, you got to turn up for them as well. So, I try and park whatever I had that day. And then as soon as I walk through the door, I'm a dad. And then, when the kids go to bed, then, I try and be a present husband as well. So,
that's reassurance there. Because I've been struggling with that lately. I've been busy. Like you've seen my schedule. Like Ray's seen my schedule. Like just the past month. And that's one part that I've been struggling with. That presence part you talk about. And I think you go. Sorry.
No, I think because we've got our phones and phones are a real big distraction. So one of my coaches told me, as soon as you turn up into your driveway, you park up, and then you take a deep breath, and then even leave your phone there, and then as you walk through the door, you turn up, be present, because your family is looking forward to seeing you the whole day. Especially your wife, man. Because she's so outgoing. I come home and I'm like, oh babe, man, my battery's done, Like,
but just gonna have a nap on the floor in the room, just 25 minutes, 50 minutes later.
But she's got no one else, so she's looking forward to seeing you be home as well. So I think it's just that connection, being present for your family. I think it's just as important.
We've only just starting this concept, so we just got this served on a drinks platter. But
you'll show the camera.
He'll show the camera. So,
so
tell us about some of these images.
So these are my three kids, Tilly, Leo, and Bella. Man, these are my I think these are my greatest achievement. These kids. Oh. You guys are going to make me cry.
Right.
So that's, Tilly's 9, Leo's 7, and Bella's 4.5. And I guess, when you talk about, I guess who I am, and that's my greatest achievement there. My kids are my world, and, hopefully I can make them proud when they grow up. And that's this whole thing, having kids changes you as a man. All right.
Thank you, Sarah. By the way. Thank you.
Good job. We also have another image there. Another picture. You want to tell us?
So this picture's me and my grandma, but it's when I got my Matai title.
Tell us what it is.
Tell us, bro.
So my Matai title, my mom's side is Manu Manaya. I think the importance of this, man. So I grew up in Brisbane. Went to Churchy, and I think I was quite lost. So I was born in Samoa, but I grew up mainly away from Samoa. So growing up, I was quite lost. As I try to fit in a lot. And I think being away from home, I lost a little bit of that identity. So this getting my Matai title for me was like, this is who I am. I'm Samoan, and this is, and finally accepting it. So I got my tattoo, my Samoan tattoo, because growing up I was kind of trying to fit in, trying to be this or trying to be that way, just trying to fit into a box. But
it's like that cultural identity. You don't know where you fit. Am I Australian Samoan? What is that? Am I Samoan? Am I what am I in terms of where you fit culturally?
And I think a lot of our youth and growing up here away from home, you kind of lose touch. So for me, the greatest thing that happened was going to play for Motu Samoa, because I got that taste of home, and then it made me, man, this is who I am. This is I'm Samoa. I'm a Samoan Australian. So getting my Matai was that full circle moment. I was like kind of finally accepted. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of where you come from. Of your culture. And
I know I'm a fan, but massive
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
proud of you, bro.
Oh, thank you.
Especially with some of the stuff that you've achieved. You know, like we talk about it all the time around achievements, and then that's an accolade that no one can take away from you, especially in getting your Moaga, you know, like, you know, that title.
Yeah.
And yeah, how good's fatherhood?
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, my greatest gifts, you know, they're yeah, and also be like, and that's something because they're half Samoan, half Australian. I'm trying to teach, even my son now, you know, he loves being Samoan. So just to be proud of who you are. Obviously, they haven't been to Samoa yet, but I plan to take them next year and just to show them this is where Dad grew up, and this is where your ancestors came from.
Yeah.
That's
When I love what you said earlier about your kids, that you hope to make them proud. Do you think they're proud of you?
Oof. Yeah. Oh, I hope so. I think Yeah. As a dad, you hope to make them proud. Like, obviously they're probably getting to the age where they can remember things now. But if anything, like, not proud because I play rugby. I think I want them to be proud because I was a present dad, and I was like a loving dad, a caring dad. I think that's hopefully they're proud just because I'm their dad. Yeah.
So good.
Oh man.
So good.
Yeah.
No, you're right, brother.
oh, bro.
All good.
Gotta get me like this.
Why are you looking up to the ceiling?
Always, every time.
Yeah.
Your Matai name,
Yeah.
Manu Manaya,
Yeah.
in the literal sense, and so for those, it's a Samoan title. In the literal sense, it's you say it back to front, but it's beautiful creature.
Yeah.
Is that the understanding of you understanding? Because I just think it's perfectly suited.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like, as in your beautiful presence.
Oh.
Do you think about the actual name and then what that actually means for you? I'm just really intrigued because I'm only hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
Just listening to you speak for the last little bit, I'm like, whoa, that is well suited.
No, now that
Tell
you
us
said
about
it,
that name.
I've never thought about the name. Obviously in my mum's family, so I haven't really thought about what the actual, like, when you translate it means. But I think it, when you put it that way, beautiful creature. I guess I think that's all. If I can live up to that saying, then I'll be proud. But I think I'm more so proud that I'm carrying that like that line. As Samoans, we're very proud of where we come from, and if I can carry my mum's side, and hopefully give them a bit of pride, and then I'm happy.
Yeah, nice. So what are the villages that your mum's from?
So mum's from Samatau,
Yeah.
and my dad's from Whalakai,
Okay.
Sifan Whalakai. So I was born there, and left when I was 9. So I still I have a bit of memory of growing up.
Yeah. One of the things that we're so big on at Foreground, and even some of the stuff that you and I do, Peter, like, we always try to incorporate culture in our presentations. It's not something we just go ignore and go, let's just get to the content. Let's just get to the meaty stuff, the stuff that people are wanting to hear. Talk about frameworks and structure. But that is a framework in itself, culture.
Yeah, patience. Let us get there.
Yeah.
You got to understand your culture. And I understand, like, I know that, you got to know, before you can move forward, you got to know where you come from.
Yeah.
And I know that's something, it's not said like that, but that's how I've always interpreted it.
Yeah.
And there's a quote actually that I'll share today, that I actually got it from one of my boys, Seth. And it's, if we forget our past, we lose our future. Without history, there is no heritage. Without heritage, culture fades away. So I think that, you going back and chasing that, because that's what I'm chasing as well. I'm chasing culture. And I really feel like that's like, the whanawhale. Like, if you really dive in, and there's a framework there called whanawhale, and Shane talks about it. Shane Senatuli. Massive shout out to him. But it's kind of finding those foundations, those pillars that hold you up. And I always find that culture, once like, for me, I've been so different in the past 2 years because I know where I'm from. I used to be like you. Ray calls it third
culture kid.
Yeah.
Your kids are third culture kids, meaning they grow up, they have their parents' heritage, their grandparents, but they grow up in a world completely different. So
Yeah.
you never would have imagined that
Yeah.
your kids would be like, yeah, they're French, Japanese, you know, Aussie,
Australian.
Samoan.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So their worldview
Yeah.
is so wide.
So
like
different.
it's a
Yeah.
different, and
Yeah.
it'll be completely different to you.
Yeah.
So again, with that cultural aspect of like, how is that? It shapes us.
Yeah.
And
100%.
it's so hard because you played for Australia as well, played
Yeah.
for SAR,
Yeah.
you know, and a lot of people start asking questions. Oh, you know,
Yeah.
where does your allegiance
Yeah.
lie? And I was like, for everyone,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like I always say I'm Samoan, Fijian,
Yeah.
Australian. I'm a proud Australian.
Yeah.
I played Australian Sevens, and then I'm a proud Pacific Islander because
Yeah.
I played 20s for Fiji.
Yeah.
But also I'm very in touch with like my cultural. Like I wasn't, and it's something that I'm like learning like Samoan language, Fijian language
Yeah.
as well. But I know one thing that the most, like, you know, when we talk about, you know, our first podcast when we spoke about belonging and
Yeah.
inclusiveness and diversity, it's about belonging.
Mm.
And I find my belonging when I'm in my culture, when I dance or when I sing.
Yeah.
You know, when I sing,
Right.
Fijian sings.
Yeah.
Thuggy dance or culture?
But you know, like, you know, I can make it, I can siva,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can fuck a bucky, you know, like I can slap, like, you know, I can do all cultural
Yeah.
dance. I just don't know the language. But people always like, oh, I didn't know, like, you know, whenever I pull it out, they're like, I didn't know you could siva. I didn't know you
Yeah.
could,
Yeah.
you could make it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no, it's just something I'm real proud of.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll come out when I have to, when there's a
Yeah.
calling.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you actually when there's Tolunga dance or something, you know, you got to go out, you got to
Yeah,
support.
yeah,
I'm always out there. I'm like, yeah, you know, because I'm like, I know how alone you can feel if there's no one coming up. Yeah,
By
have
myself.
you? You're by yourself. Yeah, okay, sweet. You know,
Help me.
and I think it's, you know, again, you know, I think, you know, we talk about proud cultures.
Yeah.
And that, like, it's one thing to be proud in that, but together.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, and I think we'll like probably massive segue on like going into what you're currently doing now, obviously
Yeah.
as a rugby player, but
Yeah.
that what you're doing for the South Pacific players or Pacifica players as a being part of the Rugby Union Player Association.
Yeah.
That's massive. When you told me that you're into the governance
Yeah.
and you actually like you've been an advocate now
Yeah.
for athletes, especially Pacifica, you know, that's for me hearing that as a Pacifica, bro. I'm like, ooh, especially knowing your background and that as well, and like, you know, what you've done with your career, like that's what I really want to dive into and how you're navigating through that.
How did you get into that space?
So the governance space kind of just came along sort of organically. I think I've always been passionate about it. You know, being the underdog, and you know, obviously growing up as a Samoan here in Brisbane. But my kid's school was advertising for, you know, a board member for their school, and this is in Birkenhead in Auckland. All predominantly, you know, white New Zealanders. So I was like, man, I'm just gonna throw my name in there, you know, and
Was it for giggles, or was it something that you were genuinely interested in?
yeah. So my wife was kind of in that space for work, and she kind of, you know, gave me a nudge. But I think for me it was just like, oh, I'll see how I go. You know, I had no right to be in the board spaces, because, you know, everyone that was in that, especially for the school, was, you know, I think it was a CEO, one of the accountants for, you know, Air New Zealand, someone HR for, you know, PwC, and then there was me as a you know, and I felt like that, you know. I was like, man, you got no right to be here, you know. Why are you trying to be, you know, a board member when you're just a rugby player, you know? And I think I had to change that mindset a little bit, because, you know, as a rugby player, you know, we're not just rugby players, because there's, like, when we become rugby players or being part of professional teams, man, you're in that high performance environment, and you're always having to think, you know, there's a lot of translatable skills from rugby into the governance or into the boardroom. And I think that was something that I had to sort of shift my mindset, because I think as rugby players, you kind of get told, you're put in a box, stay in your
That's
box.
the product.
Yep.
You only do that only.
Yeah.
Just, you know, and I think, well, one thing I'm really, you know, proud of is a lot of our players, you know, and our Pacifica players sort of, you know, talking more than just rugby, you know, and a lot of them having businesses and having a platform, and they're sharing their views. And I think that was for me was, oh man, I just didn't want to stay in my box. You know, as a rugby player, I wanted to, you know, I felt like I had every right to be in that room as everyone else. You know, so I was like, oh okay, you know, if I want my kids to, you know, to break down barriers when they get older, I gotta put my money where my mouth is and put myself out there, which was really, you know, uncomfortable. Man, I applied for another board and I had to do an interview, and it was and this was my first interview I'd done, you know, since I left school. And you know, some of the questions they asked me was, so you know, what skills do you bring to the board, and you know, what value are you going to add, or you know, how are you going to you know, how are you going to make this place, you know, better, you know, what's your experience, you know. And all I had was, I've been a professional rugby for 10 years, but I think that's where we get stuck as people, but as people and as athletes, because we think we are just this the way we are, you know. That's that fixed mindset where you are the way you are, and then you can't change, or
it
you
doesn't
can't
evolve.
it
It
can't
doesn't
evolve.
change. That's it.
You know,
It's like
and
that square hole sort of. You know, that's it.
And as rugby players, you see that a lot. You know, especially with our own people as well, is that tall poppy syndrome. Is you know, why is he trying to be that? Or why is he trying to start a business? Or why is he
on the board?
Yeah, and that was for me. I was like,
why?
well, why not? You know, and I said that, you know, well, why not? You know, I've been, you know, high performance teams for all my life, so I know what it looks like, you know, and when a team is not functioning, you know, I know what that looks like too. So I think that's been, you know, a real growth for me as a person, is putting myself out there and being uncomfortable, you know, and facing rejection. I think a lot of us fear rejection, and you know, I sat in that interview and I was like, man, do I really want to be here? Do
Your next question.
Yeah.
We'll just skip that one. Please.
Yeah.
Let's go next.
Yeah. But I think it's a space that I really enjoy now. You know, now that I'm on the board for the Pacific Rugby Players, you know, and it presents its own challenges. But I think your voice, you know, as a player, your voice is important, and you know, you can advocate for a lot of what the other boys are doing, you know. And I think that's something that I struggle with was, you know, in the board, you got these, you know, high executives, people who, you know, CEOs who, you know, have accomplished a lot, but you know, you need a range of perspectives, right? If they've only know, you know, a CEO, you know, on these high salaries, their struggles are different to what the normal people are going through, you know. And I felt like I was more connected to the
grassroots,
to grassroots, or just to the everyday person, you know. And I was able to use that experience to kind of to voice, because as a board, if you only got one perspective, then you know, you neglect a lot of the other views, you know. And so you want a range of perspectives, and that's how you get, you know, a better outcome, because there's more than one voice.
And you're bridging the gap. So that's the gap you saw. You saw that the group of people that you represent, whether it be Pacific Islander, whether it be professional athletes, you saw the gap and went, how do I bridge that gap? Where did that come from for you? Like, where have you seen it? How was it ingrained in you to go, I want to be I wouldn't say bridge builder or like gap condenser? Like, where did you see it in your life? And did someone do it for you?
I think for me, it was just my upbringing. So obviously I finished my last 2 years at Churchy, and you know, I was one of, I think, 3 or 4 brown faces in the whole school, you know, of 2,000 kids. And then, you know, being in those spaces, you kind of, because you're outnumbered, you know, you have to sort of, I guess, get used to being uncomfortable. You know, a lot of the spaces you walk into, especially in those environments, you're the only brown face, and you know, you just got to accept it. And for me, you know, I was like, oh, okay, I will try to be, you know, prefect in that school, and I'll try and, you know, and I think that's where it grew. And then moving, I think the biggest thing for me was moving to New Zealand. You know, seeing a lot of you know, a lot of Pacifica, you know, like excellence and pride, and then you look at the decision making table, you know, like I was like, well, there's not many brown faces at the table, you know. Like a lot of our people just are happy to, be the workers, and that's fine. But for me, I was like, man, why can't we be in the table? Why can't we have a seat? Because we're bringing the food to the table, but we're not deciding where that food goes. So I think for me it was just a lot to do with my upbringing, but also just wanting to make a difference. I think that was the key, making a difference.
Was there anyone in school, like a teacher or someone that advocated for you and sort of helped you sort of thrive? And I wouldn't say thrive, but like give you that experience, or that who really just spoke into you and went, you know what, you're destined for great things, not just the footy field. Was there, or it doesn't have to be a teacher. Was there anyone in your schooling, sort of age?
Yeah, I think like schooling, there's obviously a lot of teachers, but I think for me it was probably my my under 15s rugby league coach. I think he was sort of the first to be like, man, you can make Queensland, or you can make you can be whoever you want to be. And I think as a 13-year-old, I was 14, I was quite naive, and then that was like, oh, maybe I am destined for something, and I think a lot his name was Barry, and down at South Acacia Ridge, shout out to South, but that was my junior club, rugby league. And I guess his biggest thing was one of his quotes, and there's a few quotes that he used to say, like, communication it costs you nothing, but it'll win you a premiership. And I think for me growing up is
hold on.
Wow.
And I
haven't heard that one.
Mars. So communication, he used to say, and for me, I took that away, not just in rugby. Obviously, I was quite shy, so I had to talk. And to be a leader, you have to talk. And if you don't ask, you're not going to receive. So for me, I was like, oh, okay, well, as a person, just because I'm quite shy, doesn't mean you can't talk. It doesn't mean you can't have a voice. So I think that I took that away, and as I get older, I'm like, man, communication is so key. Communication, just being able to voice how you're feeling, but also just to stand up for yourself, and I think that's what I learned from that, growing up, is communication costs you nothing, but it'll win you premierships.
I think that like you've been part of the Rugby Union Play Association. I think what I think of is that you're using your culture in a really diplomatic way. You're in there as a Pacifica representative on the board. So cultural diplomacy. The thing, like something similar, right, is I guess you're using your voice that you just spoke about, similar to like Nelson Mandela. Like obviously that's like that's like platinum standard, right?
Same.
But you think about the Rugby and Reconciliation back in 1995 World Cup, right? And I'm just gonna like throw that there because that's what you're doing. Yeah. But you're doing for SAR, you're doing for Fiji, you're doing for Tonga. You I don't think you realize, and it's probably because not. I think you do realize, but because you're humble. Which is humility is key, but you're confident. But I think that's what you're paving. And that's when I heard that when you told me that you were on the board, I was like, damn. I need to get into this guy's brain because the governance and that, like you don't just get onto a board. Like it's hard to get on these boards. You got to have like some type of influence. So they've obviously seen that. Like, how does that feel? What does that look like getting into that space and actually talking about? Like, what are some of the things you've spoken about? That's like
a lot of it I can't discuss, but a lot of it's to do with like obviously World Rugby, and then just the game in itself in the Pacific. So obviously we advocate for a lot of the players and to do with our unions. So obviously our unions, they want to go one way, but we kind of just supporting the players and being their voice. And when stuff happens, we kind of and the boys don't want to put themselves out there, then they go through us, and then we kind of just go and fight for the players. But I guess like you said, it's also that voice. But I think like a lot of what you do in the governance space, because you think it's so you got to be this and you got to be that. Like I don't think that's true. Like I think like decision makers, like I said before, needs to be, you know, a range, like a variety. You know, you can't just have, you know, pick the apples from the same tree and you know, make a fruit salad. So you need, you know, to make a fruit salad, to make a fruit salad, you know, you need apples, but you also need, you know, like oranges and, you know, pineapples and just variety of fruits to make that fruit salad. So, and that's the same as a board. You know, to make the best decision, the best outcome, you need the variety. You can't just, I'd say this is a fruit salad, but you have all apples, because, you know, we know it's not the same. And that's the same as in that governance space. You know, we want to represent what's best for our people, and we'll obviously care for our people. But I think I think that's the gap that we talk about. But I think the gap is not too big if you really look into it. I think it's just more a mindset thing, and our people don't really think they belong there. I think that's the biggest challenge.
How do you go about then making that? How do you go about making a space where voices feel like they belong? How do you create belonging at a governance level?
Yeah.
You know, without different, like the thing that I'm hearing, it's like there's a different trees.
Yeah.
What's the difference between collaboration and tokenism?
Yeah.
Where it's like, let's just get old mate because he represents, you know, Samoa and tick.
Yeah.
Cultural diversity, cultural inclusion. Like, how do you go about differentiating it and voicing that to the governance?
And that's also the other challenge. You know, you just don't want to be the token, you know, brown face on the board to tick that bill. So you obviously have to have some substance, you know. And I think that's
the transferable skills you have.
Yeah,
he's a playmaker. You make the big decisions on the rugby field.
Yeah,
you know, you have to you know, you're calm. You know, like this is what I'm thinking, right? So I think that skill set that you have on the rugby field, now putting that into like when you're making, like, it will just come natural to you.
Yeah.
Well, does it? Or
yes and no. Obviously,
like I know it does. Because I've seen it on the rugby field.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know how you see those guys that stutter? Yeah. And when you're trying to say something in the middle, that's me. Guys, listen to me. He's like,
be quiet, George, speak.
But
have a drink.
Yeah. Sorry. But that's a skill, right? You get all, like, obviously you get all the voices. I like it, like me. And then, you know, being one of the skills is, you know, if that voice is being a bit too loud, you know, you get the other perspectives. You know, you just don't get one perspective. You get and then it's just the consensus. So, I think there's a lot of translatable skills, you know, and you be you know, surprised, you know, like, especially like high performance sport, you know, it's you're playing in front of, you know, 30,000 people, screaming fans, and, you know, and then you're having to perform, you know, and that's quite hard. And when you're making decisions, you know, in the governance space, you know, obviously the fans aren't there, but you can see it the same way. You know, you're making a decision that's gonna ultimately affect, you know, whoever you're in charge of. And I think it's the same. You know, when you're playing, you know, you gotta take the risks, right? You know, look at what's in front of you. Take all the information that's coming in, and then, you know, make a decision that's best for everyone.
How do you?
It's tough.
Oh man, that's
like
high pressure.
Yeah.
To think like that on the fly.
Yeah.
What's your process then in terms of you're in the governance seat?
Yeah.
What's your process then to getting people involved? Like, what do you look for in terms of getting other voices?
Yeah.
Like, what is there a specific? Like, you know, saying everyone has a different skill set, but what in your experience have you tried to look for when your board is like, all right, George, whose voice do we need?
Yeah.
What's your thinking process in terms of, is it character traits? Is it experience? Is it a bit of both? Is it?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. Like, obviously, you know, the experience is a big thing. Like, you know, obviously, being a board, you know, you need, like, obviously, like, someone with a lawyer lens, or someone with, you know, accountancy, look at the books, someone with, you know, HR, or, you know, that sort of thing. But I think skills plays a key role, but also just where they've come from. You know, obviously background is important, because you know, where they learnt a lot of their experiences is key. Because obviously as a board, you want to be able to represent whoever, you know, your constituent is. So, looking at just not just the experience, but also, where they've come from in life is also really important.
Yeah. There's that history piece.
Yeah.
100.
One of the workshops we do, by the end of the workshop that Peter and I do in leadership space, we finally get to a framework.
Yeah.
But before we even let people know what the framework is, our whole notion is, in order for you to get the best out of people, you have to actually build the trust and relationship.
Yeah.
And then before we give the actual framework, we actually
Like,
talk.
what the heck?
Yeah.
That leadership.
We actually talk about this
Yeah.
quite a lot. How do you go about building trust then in the governance space?
Yeah.
Because then, as me,
No, I was gonna say kind of dive into. I guess we've only slightly, but I think there's probably a lot of essence in. You've been on the rugby union player association. Did it happen when you kind of stepped into that leadership role with Moana Pacific?
Yeah.
Was that kind of like a real pivotal moment to get into that space?
Yeah, I think being in the leadership group for your team, I guess I see that's the board, that's the governing board for your players, and then you're the voice. You take that to the coaches, you take that to whoever you need to get that to the information, so they trust you, enough to be their voice. I think that's where the leadership group. If you're a part of a leadership group in your rugby team, I think that's the same as a board. You're obviously. I'm not sure if but like a leadership group will meet, and then we'll discuss, okay, how's the schedule this week? Has it been too much or too, where can we improve? And then like, how was training, but how's the overall feel of the team? Do we need to do this, or do we need a dinner out just to connect more? Do we need to, tighten up on a few things, tighten a few screws, and that's your leadership group. And I think that's the same as the board, but I think, when you talk about care, I think care is really important as well.
People first.
Yeah, people first, not just in the governance, but especially in rugby, the good coaches that I've been coached by, they've all got the same sort of traits, and that's care. So, like the quote says, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
All right. So if your coach cares about you and just showing a bit of interest in you as a person, and just taking that time to connect, time to build that rapport, then you're obviously gonna, have a lot more respect. But when it comes game time, when he's asking you to run through a brick wall,
bite down on that mouth
bite down on the mouth guard, right? Bite down and just run. If your coach cares, then you're probably gonna do, probably go more, give, whereas as opposed to if you have this coach who just stands at the top and yells and says, you gotta do this better, you gotta do that better, or just doesn't get to know his playing group or her playing group. And I think when it comes to the game, you're probably not gonna push as hard or care as much, because you don't have that relationship, that connection with your coach. And I think that's the same as in business. You got to get to know your people, and that's the most important.
You worked in Moana, and my always biggest fascination was you have three cultures, or 4 cultures. The South Pacific's massive with so many countries, so many cultures. How did you what's the connection there between all? What did you learn culturally with Moana? Because Moana is such a big thing. We talk about kai Moana, seafood and that, but how did you? And that's so random. That was a tangent. I don't know where I was headed with that one. Food.
It's funny you say that, because we're named Moana because of the ocean, the Pacific Ocean. So when they originally wanted to bring that team in, I was like, man, I really want to be a part of it. Someone who was raised in Australia, and I was at the Force at that time, and I was like, I told my wife, I was like, man, I'm gonna go and try and make this team. And so I signed to go to NPC in New Zealand, because I really wanted to be in be in the same country. I was like, man, put my hand up, so I'll go and play, and then hopefully I'll get a contract. So I left the Force, and I went and played for Samoa, and then I played for NPC. But so like when they did have the team together, I was lucky enough to be part of the leadership group at the start, and as a leadership group was
dive into that.
Yeah, our leadership group was obviously had a lot of different challenges, but I think we were quite lucky because we all come from similar upbringings, and we all Pacifica, so it was hard, but it was also easy in that regards, because as Pacifica, we did a lot through, so we prayed every morning, and we sang a lot of songs, and then obviously we heard a lot of stories of the Pacific and what I guess what our ancestors had to go through, and basically where we come from. So I think like what you talk about, like belonging, but just connecting to our roots and where we come from. So the ocean, the Moana Ocean, is what that's our common bond, and that's what linked our islands together. Yeah. So we use the Moana a lot. Our ancestors traveled the oceans. They're the best navigators in the world. They could go from one island 2,000 kilometers away and find it using the stars, our navigation. So our ancestors were brilliant, like smart people. They used what they had, the resources around them to travel the world. And
here's a wild fact as well. Well, is that the Pacific Ocean makes up 33% of the world.
Yeah.
So that's massive influence.
And when you say that, well, we're the biggest landmass, well, not land, but like we're the biggest space in the world. The Pacific Ocean is massive. So, and I think when I was at Moana, that was the biggest thing, was obviously trying to get everyone connected, but also linking us together. So obviously Samoans and Tongans, we had Niueans, Cook Island, Fijians in our team. So I think that was our bond, was the Moana. And then we went out and did like a few activities on the water, and just to link us all together.
Just to connect.
Yeah.
Land,
and
water.
Yeah.
The land and flesh, the spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's cool, man. Well, being part of Moana was, for 3 years, that was special. You
were like a pioneer for one of the pioneers. Not guess, you were.
That's what we called our first years. We were the pioneers, because it's something that's never been done before. But man, it was so cool just to see a team of Pacific Islanders playing in Super Rugby, and see them how they did this year was special. Yeah.
Even then, you would have gone through so much adversity through Moana. Like what cultural, we talk about culture and those pillars of culture. Some of the how'd you get through all that adversity at the start, like culturally? Did you lean on a lot of cultural elders, cultural teachings, or?
Yeah, a bit of both. So obviously we were in New Zealand, so we had to respect the land. So we had we stayed at our base was Mount Smart initially. So and that was Yeah, but obviously we had to, we got a Māori elder in, and just to, give their blessings to be on their land. But I think, being I was part of Manu Samoa before that, so we obviously there's just to get to the kickoff is always a challenge, but bringing a group of islanders together, but that was special. Yeah.
What has been? I'm gonna throw a comparison question.
Yeah.
It's like, what has the most significance? Like debuting for Moana or debuting for Samoa?
Oh, that's a hard one.
Plead the fifth.
Yeah.
Which is your favorite child?
I plead the fifth again.
Yeah. I think I was lucky that I think playing for Manu and being in Samoa, that was different. Obviously on the bus, my favorite memory is on the bus going to the game, and you see all the Samoan, all the people waving the flags and stuff, and I think there was no feeling that could beat that. But obviously, it's different. Yeah.
6, 8,
obviously, it's different. I debuted for Moana, and we had our first win, so that was special as well. We beat the Hurricanes in but I think you can't really compare the two, because obviously there's a lot of pride playing for your country, but also when you're playing for your whole people, Pacifica people, that's different as well.
Man, do you consider yourself as a pioneer? Do you,
That's
like,
cool.
yeah, I was just like, do you consider yourself as a pioneer? Because I know,
Yeah.
just listening to you, it's
Yeah.
like, man, this guy's a pioneer. Without a shadow of a doubt. You've been explaining the Moana Pacifica,
Yeah.
navigators, we're cultural navigators.
yeah.
We're just navigators in general.
Yeah.
We find what's in our hands, and this is me going all biblical because
Yeah.
that's the lens which I see.
Yeah.
Like,
Shoulder.
yeah. Like, what's it like for you to well, for me to even consider you as a pioneer?
No, like I don't see myself as a pioneer. I just see myself as just just a humble rugby player trying to make way. But obviously, if the young kids get inspired, then that's a bonus of what we do. As professional rugby players, we do because we love the game. But if we can inspire people along the way, then that's a bonus.
Like, it's so many questions in my head. I'm like
Yeah.
this. I'm like, so how did you do this, and this? Because my thing is, you're in this corporate space, rugby, and now I'm going to ask you, what cultural values have you brought into this, RUPA, the Rugby Union Players Association? Like, because one thing that I've done now is like, that belonging we talk about.
Yeah.
I bring my culture everywhere I go because
Yeah.
I'm really, really
Yeah.
proud of who I am and
Yeah.
where my family's been. Because where I am right now, there's a
Yeah.
backstory of thousands of years.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like, and we don't.
Yeah.
That's obviously hindsight or perspective. You mentioned earlier, like what cultural values have you actually feel like that personally, not professionally, like personally, that you've embedded into the Rugby Union Play Association?
Yeah, I think I'm lucky because obviously the Pacific rugby players, predominantly we have a lot of successful Pacifica people in that space. So we all come similar backgrounds. We all care about the culture, but I think just a lot of the values, growing up, it's my Samoan values as well, like of tautua, of that servant leadership. A lot of a lot of those values like help in that space. I think like we as a board, we know who we represent, and that's our Pacifica people. So I think we try to bring the same values back into how we govern them. Yeah.
It's tough. Like, it'll be such a, like, I know that, I was us. I'm like, man, I wonder how Henry's going now. Like, after just recently, just even conversations, like coming into like today, I'm like, got all these codes now. They're just changed. I'm like this. I'm like, what? I was like, I was like, I had a whole. I was like, wait a minute, I'm gonna change it. Oh, because there's that cultural exchange. There's so much.
There's
like,
so much.
You're like, you got. And this is something that I've done now, is like wearing different hats.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, how do you, so you got to put like a corporate hat on.
Yeah.
And, you go do community work, you got to put your community hat on.
Yeah.
And your cultural hat, but then, your connection with your family.
Yeah.
Right. And, like, how's that like? Does the language change? Does your presence or?
Yeah, that's true. I think my wife used to like tease me a lot like back in the day, like when I talk to the boys, I talk differently to how I talk obviously in the corporate space, it's like we try to mock each other. But I think one thing that I've sort of tried to do now is just be yourself no matter what you're in, like be you, and if being you makes someone uncomfortable, then that's their problem, like if being you intimidates or makes them feel uncomfortable, then that's on them. Just be yourself. We're in a culture where people try and put us down or put us in a box, and just be yourself. So if you're in whatever environment you're in, and if you're being yourself, that's all you can do.
There's actually a truth to that. Then I'm gonna do. It's actually one of the things that I got told. I used to, do you ever get stuck in the way where I'll use, for example, Foreground, right? Like the coaches, it's like, and I'd sell the heck out of our coaches.
Yeah.
Not sell, like, because you don't have to when they're doing awesome. But I'll talk them up, be like, oh yeah, they're awesome, but they're better than me, or they're like, you kind of put yourself down to make someone feel greater. But now I like, and I don't know if you've done it, touched on like, I now go, I'm great, and that's why my team's great. Not because I suck, or not because I'm not worthy enough. Like the reason why I'm the one that's actually pioneered for my own companies, my own family, to be like, no, I'm great, but my team's great as well. You know, because I show leadership. So have you felt that's something that you've kind of taught yourself out, or
I think that's something. I think it's either the way we're brought up. You know, we're obviously being respectful, being humble is part of our culture, and I think that's something we get instilled. You know, be humble, be humble. I think that's something that I've over the last few years I'm like, being humble doesn't mean you have to be passive. So like being humble doesn't mean you have to like make yourself smaller than the other person. I think being humble just it's something that I think as you grow, you know, I think you should celebrate your success. Like, and that doesn't mean you're not humble. I think I don't know where it's come from, but
that's
like
me, man. 3, 2, 1.
I think it's something to do with our culture because when we see someone else succeed, man, it should inspire you. I think like our culture is like when someone succeeds is like, oh, why is he doing that? You know, the same as the governance space. You know, being in a board, why is he doing that? You know, he's just stick to being a rugby player. You know, stick to being a gymmer, and don't try and don't be a bots dude. Don't. You know, and that's something that I've struggled with.
Don't be a bots dude.
Don't be a bots
Don't
dude.
be a boss dude.
But like, and then
times that the times that told me that, man, I'm like this.
Yeah.
Eat it. That
and I was the same. You know, when someone would praise me, I struggled to accept that praise. I was like, no. You know, like, and that's I think we get that being humble, and then we kind of confuse it to be, you know, but like when someone gives you a compliment, you know, you play really well. You can say, thank you. You know, and like you can accept that.
Yes, like
simple. You know, I think that's something as I think maybe as men or we struggle to take that compliment. And the same as a leader, you know, someone says your coaches are great, and you know you said like you can accept that things, you know, or like if someone praises you, I think we struggle just to accept it and to own it. And I think you know being humble does not mean you have to be passive.
One of the things I use now is like if you give me a compliment, I was like real humbled by that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate that love.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you see on interviews all the time. I'm sure you've had many in your time.
Yeah.
The first thing that people on the mic often say, "Oh, that was a great game. You've done amazing. You did some cool plays or whatever it is." Oh, full credit to the boys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's almost deflection.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's something in that, like again, understanding that humility piece. It's not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself like it's of yours, as in thinking of others.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we're always in the others category, but it's okay every now and again, or not every now and again. I think it's okay to say thank you. I worked really, really hard to make sure I nailed my role.
Yes.
And I'm grateful that the boys were able to help do their part and collectively.
Yes.
You don't hear that because it was so afraid of that tall poppy syndrome.
Yes.
That's somewhere in the South Pacific, on Australia, New Zealand, it's ingrained in
Even the next
next
interview is like, well, hey, look, because of the teenager,
because of my work off the field.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's an important thing. Like,
be different though. Like you know, you say it's like if you don't like it because of who I am, that's your problem.
Yeah,
like, that's massive.
My presence shouldn't make if my presence in your life makes you feel inferior, then it's like. That's on you, not on me. Like I'm not. 100%. Again, like you're not trying to make them feel inferior or less of themselves. You're just going, this is my light. This is who I am, and I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy to own my story. I'm happy to own who I am. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like I think that's something that I'm still learning even now. When people do compliment or people say, "Hey, you're different, Ray," I'm like, "Yeah, I am," and I actually like me.
Yeah.
You're aimless, Pete. You're aimless. I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Cry in a room now. I don't know what that means.
Something, man. It's just something when you said that I was like, you know what? I'm gonna lean on that because like it happens all the time, and I'm teaching, educating my my guys. Don't talk yourself down. Talk yourself up. Bring your team up. Because then you're raising the standards or the level, then people have to arise with you. Yeah. Because if you're not setting the bar, be the person that be a trendsetter. Yeah. Don't be just an influencer. I don't know if that's a thing, but
Bars.
Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah. How do you go about setting a high standard for yourself? Like, what's your process throughout the day? Like, and I'm not asking who's that influencer guy?
Routine.
Not
Ashton
Ashton
Martin,
or-
who wakes up and splashes.
Well,
face of
Henry,
water.
what's your routine look like, Henry?
Yeah.
TJ says,
So I
we'll
wake
make a
up
video.
and I have an
4
ice
a.m.
bath and a sauna.
Then read
Go
a
for a
book with my children.
2-hour hike.
Come back 2-hour hike, but still back
Yeah.
by 6 a.m.
Because so what's your process of the day? Like, how do you go about attacking your day?
And then game day.
And then
We
that
call
and
training
game
day. What's the
Yeah.
difference between training day and then game day?
Yeah.
I think, obviously, like, I'm lucky I've been a professional for quite a while. So, like, game days are a little bit different to training days. Obviously, with the kids is a little bit different. So, I try to wake up before them, but my kids get up at like 6 o'clock. So I'm always like, my son's waking me up. He's
Perfect
waking me
alarm
up.
clock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like,
that's good.
Dad, can you make me some wheat picks?
Healthy choices.
Yeah.
See,
Massive,
healthy choices, healthy
Yeah.
massive shout out to Sanitarium. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
Sponsor this
movie.
podcast now.
But my kids are the same.
Yeah.
And then I'm like this. Now I'm like, it's so funny. Do you guys get this? Do you want warm or cold with honey?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think just having an idea of like on a Sunday, just having an idea what your week looks like, and when training's gonna be busy, and then when you can have some downtime. I think the biggest part of being for me now is like, it's not so much planning for each day, but I guess it's planning on the days that you can take time for yourself. Especially for me, like, man, my non-negotiables is on my day off, I need a nap.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So, and my wife, she's like, oh, let's do this. But I'm like, man, like, obviously when you're, doing everything for everyone else, you got to take time for yourself. So you need a nap and then have some quiet time for yourself, and that just sort of anchors you and get you reinvigorated for whatever you got to come. And same as game day, game day is where you got to perform. So my kids know that daddy needs a nap, and then maybe go for a walk or swim. That's what game day looks like, but looks a little bit different. Now that I'm a dad, as opposed to when you're younger, you can be a bit more selfish. But now, I think you just plan around. You have your big rocks, and as you schedule your week, your big rocks is what's important, and then you got to make sure you get those done. And then if you're looking after yourself, then you can be present for everyone else. I think that's what I've learned. You can't pour from an empty cup. You got to make sure you fill up your cup first.
Fill up your own cup, man. Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, but I think that's what I've sort of learned as I get older is, you can't keep pouring. You got to sometimes take a minute, have some time for yourself, and then you can just be better, to be around for other people. You can be more present.
Which is
That's a 99 right there.
That's a 99.
That's a 99.
Which is such I wouldn't say it's polar opposite. So it was what I'm hearing you say, like, it's self-care. It's important to pour into your own cup before you pour into others. But then I throw in that whole cultural piece. We have that mantra in our Samoan culture, ole ala, ile pule, ole tautua, meaning a pathway to leadership is service. So it's a forward focus. So it's kind of challenging that, because it's like there's this Western concept with our Pacifica, like Eastern concept of like making sure that you serve others as others first. Like there's this clash, like, because again, that changes the narrative, right? That changes your own narrative of how you model it to your kids. So how do you go about holding those two things in tension, going, oh, I want to serve my people, but I actually need to look after myself? Is it selfish? Is it,
Such a balance, eh? I don't know. That's my answer.
I think that's the key. It's a balance. Like, obviously, like I said, you need that time to yourself, but I think you don't like force it. Like, obviously, being proud of your culture, and then obviously that Tautua is really important in giving. But I found that the more you like, if you keep giving, like I said, you kind of neglect yourself, and then you kind of burn out. So like something that fills up my cup, like for instance, is always when I get back to play for Manu Samoa, just being around the boys and the culture and the singing and that fills up my cup. So it doesn't have to be you know,
Just give us a snapshot of the song. I know you told me I sound like I used to dance like Chris Brown, but it sounds like Chris Brown. Ooh.
No way. But just like time to yourself doesn't mean just being a reclusive. It also means like you can go and fill up your cup by being with someone that you really care about, or enjoying time with people that fill up your cup. And that's still time for yourself, and being around great people. Like being around you two, and listening to you guys and your podcast. That's filling up your cup. So I think that's it's a balancing act, right? Like, and you got to make sure that in order to do everything that you got to make sure you're looked after as well.
Yeah. Can you tell me, like, in terms of filling your cup, like, what's it like? This is me as a Samoan kid growing up watching Manu Samoa as long as I can remember. What's it like doing the haka for the first time? Our Manu haka.
Yeah. So the Siva Cup was, man, that's, so they don't actually teach you when you're first roomie, they're meant to teach you how to do the Siva Cup. Yeah. So before, like, so on captain's run, right, you do it together as a team, whoever's playing. But before that, so like maybe like 3-4 days before that, you'll meet together, and then so the old players who've been together will do it to the new players, and the new players will do it back. So you got to know it by then. So I think it's cool that you get to learn from your roomie. But my first Siva was in Samoa. And
what you've just said, that you're teaching, the leadership, inclusive, but it's succession planning, right? That's how you lead. You learn from your elders or who've been there before, the custodials before you. Then I love that.
It's a very oratory, which is normal for us. When I say normal in our Pacifica culture, like, we don't learn by writing things down. We learn by storytelling. And by actually going, let me just show you. You learn along the way. Anyway, so
tell me, show me.
But that Siva, so doing my first Siva in Samoa, man, that was special. And every time now, so if you leave the tour, you do the Siva by yourself, and maybe a few people will help you. So like outside, we were staying at Sky City, and outside, someone had to leave, so they were doing a Siva back to the boys, and that's your way of leaving the group. So our circle is really special, and you touched on passing that knowledge down. I think that's the same, being part of like the manu, like your standards and so rules and stuff like that. Like the new players will kind of find out from the players that have been there before. So like they'll ask, and that's how that gets done. And so being in the leadership group, you don't really have to explain, this is rule 1A, rule 2A. It's just kind of like they kind of know, being Samoan, it's kind of in our culture, and one thing that's really cool about being in the manu is, everyone really, whether you're, and I said this, whether you're 1% Samoan or whether you're 100% Samoan, you're still Samoan, and there's a saying that we say, you can tell a Samoan by the way they stand, the way they walk, and the way they talk. So that's how we carry ourselves, and that's a saying that's been in our team for so long. Just how you carry yourself as a Manu Samoa is, that people can recognize that, and so you have that duty to represent yourself in a manner that
Any money you're now doing that in the RPA, I'm just going to bring it back now. The IUPA, like, the rugby, I bet any money you're still walking, talking with confidence. Confidence, like, because you belong there, bro.
I think that's like, but I also feel, really old now. So my first roommate was Tusi Bisi. He was my first roommate in 2017, and now he's my coach. And Centers Johnson was playing, and all those boys, and now I'm like looking around. I'm like, so where's all the old guys?
Your Wisos.
I'm the old guy now.
You're the vet.
I'm the vet in the bar.
Everyone's doing like harder fitness, no warm up. You're there. Do activations.
Don't tell me what to do. Just watch me play. What's that like? Like, I'm always curious because they're now your mates. Like, as in like coaches, your mate. What's that working relationship? Is that like, is there a distinct line? Is there a blurred line? There's just a general understanding? Because again, that's super important in a high performance team. You come in the academy or the squad together. You have this friendship. Then all of a sudden, part ways come back. But now there's different roles. So in a high performance team, what does that look like for you to still maintain your friendship,
Yeah.
but perform at a high level,
Yeah.
doing your role.
I think, they obviously you have that connection and that relationship, but because they're the coach, that like I always said, being a coach is really hard because you get, you don't get as much as enjoyment as playing, but it's more, you do more hours of work. So like, I always respect, my coaches, but I think that, there has to be that defined line because, as a player, if you see your coaches, mucking around all the time with the boys and you kind of, you don't get that much, as much respect. So I think there has to be that line, being a coach and a player. But it's also, it's still funny, seeing the guys at Sunnybank, Rick's his coach now, and he was telling me off playing, he's still the same. But
there's one guy that you never want to make angry.
Yeah.
And it's Rex.
Yeah, but like,
don't drop the ball.
Yeah, and I think Tusi Pisi is the same. He's very, very hard on the boys, but he was the same as a player. So
I'll give a shout out to Rex though. Like I've seen him in the transition from player to coach, totally different.
Yeah,
he's still aggressive. He's like a Craig Bellamy, but cares for the boys so much.
Yeah,
and I think that's that care factor.
Yeah.
I don't know, is that what Pissy's like?
Yeah.
Is he kind of like that kind of?
Yeah,
coach?
I think it's the same. Yeah. Obviously, you want to drive high standards, but you also got to make sure you do it in a caring way.
Got composure, eh?
Mm.
So I think the big one is that, it's hardest part being coach. Like I remember being going into like becoming a player, then going into the S&C world and the strength and conditioning. You would know, it's the hardest place being an S&C coach because you're trying to like manage not kids, you're managing men. That already know. You know what I mean? And you're telling them to, you're telling them like you're telling someone like, especially in rugby, you're telling someone that has like a 160 kilo bench to do what they have to do. But then my hardest transition wasn't that. It was going from player to coach. And I was still like, I still thought I still had it, but like to think, I was still kind of like in that, like COVID was a big reason why I kind of jumped into coaching a lot earlier. But I had to, and the question was like, Peter, I remember we were out, Peter, you're going to be sitting down there, you're going to sit at the big table. And I was like this. At the big table. And then I used to look at the boys. No, but it is a hard transition. I think going from like, you're still playing and you still got 2 more years on your contract. Like, I think you still got like another 10 just between you and I. Like, obviously, I don't know what the business thinks about that, but are those the thoughts you're having at the moment, or?
Yeah, like those conversations are definitely happening. But I mean, I'm like quite excited about like the transition, like moving every couple of years. I'm kind of looking forward to just that stability of I'm gonna be here for however long, and you can play. At the moment, you can't plan more than a couple of months because your schedule determines what you do. So like moving back home and just being stable. I think that I'm looking forward to that, and I'm also looking forward to just working, doing a normal job because being a professional rugby player, it's also rewarding, but it's also quite a selfish career. It's all about you and your contract or wherever you're going to move. So I guess taking a back seat and just enjoying the family, watching them grow up. I'm also looking forward to that.
I love it. Something you said earlier, like, and it sums up your career now, and I think moving forward in your legacy piece is just presence. Like we often say, wherever your feet are, be there. Like it's cool to have these succession plans. Say you got 2 more years in your contract, but what I heard you say, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what I heard you say was, it's not actually about the destination. It's actually the journey. It's the in-between that's really going to add value to when you finish your playing career. That's going to set you up for the next season. And so what does that legacy look like and feel like for you right now? What is it that you want to achieve whilst you're in the governance seat and player and dad, and throw anything else in there? Like what is it? Pioneer. What is the next 2 years for you? What do you hope to achieve?
I think like with rugby, obviously just trying to enjoy it, keep that enjoyment, but also I'm very, very much back of mind is what does after rugby look like for me. But I think like what you said, just being present, like just enjoying, and I think I enjoy now, like being in the manu. Just I enjoy a lot more because I'm not stressed, or I'm not trying to, I think I'm just taking it every day as it comes. Like as you get older, you kind of a bit slower, so you can enjoy things at a slower pace.
Don't be so bad. Bring yourself up.
Yeah, but just being present, just being aware that I think as you come towards the end of your career, you know that's not going to last forever. So and we talk about like being in the Manu Samoa circle, and it's never the same. So
that's a sacred piece you shared with us. I love that because I didn't know that that's what you did.
Yeah.
That's
There's
special.
a few other specials, but obviously just taking it every day, enjoying it. Like for me, my highlight, I always, when my kids do their highs and lows, like my highlight is I get to be there when they go to bed every night, do their highs and lows, and that's the highlight of my day. So yeah, just be present, just enjoy it, and
that's his journey, man. All right, there's so many other.
Yeah, could be here for hours.
Hard, bro. Yeah, I know. I was like, man, get the talanoa, get the talanoa.
One thing, like I don't know if we're landing the plane. We could be, but what's something? Well, Peter and I always talk about this every time we're traveling, whether it be on an airplane or whether we just calling up each other. And something that you often share and practice is gratitude. Yeah. What's something you are grateful for today?
I'm grateful for this space, being able to be here and just talanoa. Grateful for you guys, but I think like just life, just grateful that like when you live away from home, being here in Brisbane, like I'm grateful that I'm here, even if it's only for a couple of weeks, just like like I love life at the moment, and like even with my family and with everything, I think I got a cool balance. So just being grateful for life is I know it's cliche, but that's just the way I'm feeling at the moment.
And that's it. As it's not it we say it's cliche, but it's the simple things in life. I've learned it's the simple things in life. We can complicate it. We can dress it up and make it look like and sound like things that we want to aspire to, but you break it down enough. Just grateful for life. The fact that we woke up.
Just the gratitude of that simplicity. We call it BSR, and basic, simple repetition. Once you start mastering the simple things, then you can start mastering what's more complex or what's challenging. I think like simple is good. I think as we're going older, your processes and frameworks become more simple. I remember when I was coming up with my first framework, it was like this like 13, 15 step process. And now I'm like, there's a 3-step process. Here we go. I write down
100 steps to success.
100 steps to, and even like, we see all these like, this is bit, but you just keep it simple. And I think that's one thing I've heard you say is like, what I'm hearing is you've been very present. Simplicity. And there's these little things in life that actually make you real happy. And the fact that you've like taken things on board from your coaches, mentors. Actually, who's one of your mentors at the moment that you're leaning on?
Oh, there's a few. Like, so
you can shout out to some. It's all right.
Oh, there's a few like, just people that I, like I look at in the business world, like those are my mentors, and there's a few people in New Zealand and here, but who is my mentors? Not. I don't know if they want me to share.
Sometimes
I want to keep
behind. Behind the scenes.
Keep it. Nah, it's good.
But it's funny. Like some of my greatest mentors, I've never met. Meaning, the stuff I read about, podcasts I listen to. I will never ever meet them because I know they're so far away from me, probably in distance or different sort of realms of space that we work in. But some of my greatest mentors, I've never met. And I quote their work. Not only do I quote their work, I've dropped a few quotes in previous podcasts. But I actually embody what they share. And if you can embody it, I
Yeah.
think that for me says a lot about mentorship. And it's like, you
Yeah.
sound like well, I've read so
Yeah.
and so, or I've
Yeah.
learned
Learnt.
from so. One of the,
Yeah.
I think one quote again, this is coming to the top of my mind, is don't try and imitate someone.
Yeah.
Learn how they think.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be the next
Yeah.
so and so.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to, how do they? What's their thought process? How do I
Yeah.
learn about their
Yeah.
thought process, and then take that on,
Being curious,
apply it in my own context,
Curiosity.
and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
be curious about it.
Yeah.
Be a lifelong
Right.
learner. I think
Yeah.
for me, the more we can be lifelong learners,
Yeah.
learn from everything. Your
Yeah,
kids,
yeah,
like
yeah.
our kids, are the sponges.
Oh yeah.
They learn.
100%.
They're learning from different cultures
Yeah.
and different parenting styles
Yeah,
based
yeah.
on the different cultural context. So, be a lifelong learner, because I think for me personally,
Yeah.
that has gotten me a lot further than just
Yeah.
going, well, I'm capped.
Yeah.
I don't need you. It's not that
Yeah.
transactional thing. It's
Yeah.
actually
It's
relational.
relational.
So I think be a lifelong learner. And that's what I
Yeah.
love about your story, bro. Like,
Oh, thank you.
constantly learning from your environments,
Yeah.
which is so powerful.
Intransferable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Relatable to a lot of,
Thank you.
I think a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about that dream. Look where you are now.
Yeah.
You know, we spoke about it when you were 18, 19. Like, it's changed.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's awesome seeing you actually live out your dream. And that reality, you know, that dream turned reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually being, you know, as I said, I'm a massive fan as much as I'm, you know, a friend, a brother,
Yeah.
like, you know. But yeah, it's been awesome seeing you just, flourish, bro. And I love it. And I hope you
Yeah.
still, you know, I know you guys, we said 2 years, but
Yeah.
as I said, I'm backing you all the way, man.
Yeah.
And I think that seeing you around the club, around the community, it's been really good. Like, I was like, hey, Henry's trade. Like, you know, this, now we can
Yeah.
say we're going to land the player, but
Yeah.
I'm doing Colts fitness.
Yep.
Who pops out of nowhere? Like, just out of nowhere. And I was like to the boys
Out of the
afterwards.
bush, or like, what?
Yeah, out of like, you know, he
Hey
just came out of
guys.
nowhere. He just ran jog because we were training before the Prem started.
Yeah.
And this guy just jumps into a session, like, you know, jumps into training next to, you know, the group. And he does it again. And then I was like to the boys, like, do you guys just know that you're just like training with an international superstar? They're like, what? It's like, because even one of some of the boys said, is that Henry? I was like, yeah. Damn. I'm almost as fit as him. You know, it's like, you know, that, you know, some of the boys there, like, I was like, I don't think they realize like the actual people that come around their lives and,
Yeah.
you know, so humble. They're just like, he just came and trained with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like Henry.
Yeah.
Because he came up to me and said, can I jump in? I was like, of course, jump in. You know, and then that's just like kind of speaks volume of like the person you are. You don't ask for anything special. You will keep basic. And as much as you said that, you know, your game's not fancy or that, it's crafty. And like, you know, it is crafty. And it's that mastery of craft, you know, that craft that you're still developing. And you're still mastering, but you're still there. As I say, you're still scratching the surface. Like for us doing this podcast,
Yeah.
we're still just scratching the surface. You know,
So-
you're helping us pioneer our journey, bro. You're like, wait, 1, 2, 3.
Nah.
You know, you're now
Yeah.
part of this journey and part of
Nah.
this family of
Thanks.
this Foreground.
Yeah. Thanks
So
for
what-
having me on.
Yeah. What's your final words?
Ooh.
What's your final words? Like, if like
This is
I,
my-
so let's do this one part, and this is
Yeah.
how I'm going to frame the question. Your tombstone.
Yeah.
There's a tombstone, and it's of you.
Yeah.
What do you want the words on that tombstone to say?
Yeah, that's a tough one, eh? Because so Henry Taefu, so married, dad of 3, and just loved life. Yeah, obviously this could be a lot, you know, like, but I think, you know, like Peter said, I've made my career of just doing the simple things really well, you know, like being the most coachable, being the most, you know, the good teammate to be around, and just, you know, nothing fancy, nothing flashy, just getting the job done. And I think that's just being like a man of my word. And I think someone told me that when I was young, like, you know, that's all you have as a man of your word. So maybe, yeah, a man of his word. That I'd be happy with that.
You have in brackets, can't kick a goal from 60 meters. And did one in from 50 from in a game.
Yeah.
Bro,
And
can't
then,
kick a
and then right at the bottom in italics, put his mouth guard in,
Yeah.
bit down, and
Bit
ran
down,
through the wall.
Ran through the wall.
Yo. Hashtag 99.
Thanks for having me, eh?
I appreciate you. Thank you, Henry.
Yeah.
It's so much for your time. I know you're in a hectic training schedule. You actually made time for us. So for me, I feel honored. You accepted the Batman signal call from this guy. And he talks highly of you. He talks highly of you. So I appreciate you making the time. And again, thank you again. Really, really
Appreciate you guys. When you guys are trending #1 on Spotify, I hope I get the invite, eh?
Yeah, no,
We'll definitely
have you back on because I definitely want to dive in deeper with
Yeah.
some other things. Usually, next time it would just be a conversation. But
Yeah.
you've already done this before, so you know what's up.
All good. Thanks for joining us again for Foreground
Yeah.
Podcast. My name is Moaga. This is Peter Lee. And this is the man himself, the voice, the legend.
Henry Taefu. Let's go. Nakamana.